Hey guys, Ashley Tiger Huffman here. It's Friday afternoon, and I was out riding the mower around the backyard, and got the sprayer out and sprayed the yards for bugs. Had a little bit of an ant problem, but while I was riding, I was listening to some music. Bought me a little cheap pair of earbuds, and seems to be the going thing now. And I was listening to music, and I don't have a specific playlist, but there's a channel that I got onto with YouTube. It just plays a whole mix of stuff, and so I thought maybe we just take a walk down memory lane today. Because it's funny how when you hear certain songs, it takes you back to places you've lived, places you've been, people you know or knew, things you did, things you wish you hadn't done. And so this channel was playing music from like the 70s, 80s, 90s, things I grew up with. I was born in 65, so you count that up. And so I had a plethora of music that I grew up on. Everything from Elvis and the Beatles and Leonard Skinner, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses. How many of y'all remember Whitesnake? REM, Journey, Styx. The list can go on and on. But listening to some of these songs, it takes you back to places, hanging out with people that you love to be with. For us, sometimes doing things we shouldn't have been doing. But it makes me long sometimes for those days. The people I knew, the people I loved, the people I could trust, people I really, really miss in my life. Listen to songs like November Rain from Guns N' Roses, or Purple Rain from Prince, Faithfully Yours from Journey, or Back in Black, You Shook Me All Night Long from AC/DC. Freebird from Leonard Skinner. I think we all know that one. And where does it take you? Where do you go back to? I know I was making my first attempt at college, fresh out of high school, when Prince came out with 1999. We're gonna party like it's 1999. And do you remember where you were at when it was 1999 and we thought the world was going to come to an end in 2000? That the world as we knew it, everything was going to crash. And we were going to be driven back into the dark ages. But we didn't. The world kept turning. And technology got more and more and more advanced. Now we have these little earbuds you can put in your ear. They're wireless, and you can listen to music or videos or the news or whatever. What is it? Books that you can get online or whatever. I failed my first attempt at college. That was a rough year. It was a really rough year. I was making my attempt at App State. I wasn't happy there. The weather was definitely not agreeable. That February, I turned 19. I'd come home a week before my birthday, and I lost my grandfather that weekend. I'd gone to visit him and my grandmother, and he gave me some money for my birthday. So the next day, Mom and I went shopping. I got me a new pair of shoes with my birthday money. New pair of tennis shoes. And, excuse me. And, on our way back to our house, we lived out in the country. Lived out in the country for a long time. That's why I live out in the country now. I love it better than being in the city. But on the way back, we got stopped by my grandparents' neighbor, because my grandparents didn't have a phone. They didn't want a phone. If you wanted to get in touch with them, you either had to go see them or contact one of their neighbors. So their neighbor came looking for us with the news. My grandfather had had a massive heart attack, and he was dead before he hit the floor, according to the doctor. And that threw me into a spiral. I didn't care about being at school at that point. I started drinking a little heavier than I already was. The occasional drink with your friends, little party, whatever, on the weekend. I started flunking my classes. Wound up flunking out of school, and was forced to come home at that point and get a job for a while until I could figure out how I could afford to go back to school, if I even wanted to go back to school. But it threw me in to a different mode in my life. I took a summer job trying to decide what I was going to go do, and I decided I wasn't ready to go back to school. At some point I decided to take some classes at the community college so I could work during the day and take classes in the evenings. Caught up with some of my old high school friends. We hung out more, made some new friends. That shortly after that point, I got work in furniture factories. Worked in 2 or 3 different furniture factories over about a 6-year period, I guess. And finally decided when I was about 25 that I'd gotten my certificate to be an EMT, and I wanted to pursue a career in emergency medicine. So I thought, well, when I have help, need help to go back to school. So that's when I decided, I'm going to try the military. That was a big mistake, but at first I thought about going into the Marine Corps, and I tested for everything, and I could have gone in, but I decided that really wasn't where I wanted to be. So I stepped back for a little bit, and then when I went back to talk to the recruiters, I decided I'd go into the Navy because I could choose what I wanted to be. I had high enough scores. I'd had a little bit of college classes, and I wanted to be a corpsman. So I went and did my boot camp in Orlando, and after the Gulf War, they closed that base, that training base, and now it's a lovely, really beautiful park and housing development kind of area, neighborhood. Really pretty. You can go online and look that up. It was in Orlando. And from Orlando, I got sent to Waukegan, just outside of Chicago. They have a boot camp up there, but they also have your A school classes. And I had to go to their A school training to be a medic, which is a lot different than being an EMT, especially in war times, because you would have to do a triage, and if you're in a war, you would have to help those who either had really minor injuries and you could put them back out on the line, or had injuries that would heal quickly and they could get back out into the fight. Those are the ones you treated first. Then you would get to those who were worse off, and those that were most likely going to die were last, or those that were already deceased were very last, of course. And so I had to learn a whole new mindset doing that, because in emergency medicine, as we know, paramedics, they treat the worst off first to try to save your life. So their triage is the worst are treated first, and then you work your way to the ones who don't have to go to the hospital. You send them on, check them off, make them sign forms, whatever, send them on. So it's backwards when you're in the military. And I got out of A school, got back home, enrolled in a school at Western Carolina, and they have a lovely, wonderful 4-year program in emergency medicine to train you to be a paramedic. So you get full training, you go through all your testing, and they actually prepare you for national exams, because you can get your national exams and go to work just about anywhere if they're hiring. You get 3 chances at national exams, and I missed passing my exams by 2 to 4 points every time. I'm not good at taking written exams. I passed the and my brain's not working, but you know, where you actually have to do all your stuff in front of a person, I passed that no problem because I'm a doer. I've always been a doer. I learn by doing, hands-on, and not so good out of a book. And so I never did pass my national exams. But to take another step backwards for a minute, while I was working and trying to figure out my life, where I was going to go, and I was taking classes at the community college, I decided I was going to try to move out on my own for a while. So I bought a trailer from a friend of mine's, a sister and her husband. It's like, well, this will be a good first time, good start. And that lasted about 8 months because it was really costing me money. It needed the underneath repaired, it needed the heating, cooling system, needed work. So needless to say, I wound up moving back home. Excuse the fan, you know, it's hot, so the AC's running. Wound up moving back home, and of course it was at that juncture that I decided I needed to go back to college, and went into Naval Reserves is what I went into. When I came home from that, I was stationed out of the Reserve Center out of Asheville, of all places. And I was going to school at Western. I did graduate from Western. I also took classes. I took criminal justice classes from the community college there. And got my associate's degree in criminology, criminal justice. I met the person that I wound up moving to the Greensboro area with. Personally, I wanted to stay in Asheville. I wanted to get on with the Asheville paramedic system because one, they're one of the highest paid systems in the state. But two, they have a graduated program where if you're fresh out of college, whether it's at the community college, the 4-year college, certificate programs, whatever route you're taking to be a medic, they start you out at a level they feel you're qualified for and work you up to being a medic. So I would have started above EMT level, but not at the paramedic level, because they want to see what you can do, and they want to help with your training and your confidence and get you up to being a confident paramedic. And the pay was good. You worked your way up in pay. But no, the person I was seeing wound up getting a job down here in the Greensboro area. And so we wound up moving down here. And about a year in, we broke up. And I've kind of sort of dated off and on since that time, but I've been here in this house for 25 years now. And I did wind up, before I got out of college, I did wind up getting out of the Naval Reserves. It was right after the Gulf War ended. I had gotten my orders to go to the Gulf while I was in my first semester of college at Western. It was I'd started that January, and it just happened to, when I got the call, it happened to fall just as we were going into spring break. So I went and got out of all my classes. I said, I've been called, I have to go do my duty. And before spring break was over, because I was at home and I was getting my stuff together, getting all my papers together, guess what? The war ended. Just that quick. So my orders got canceled. So then I had to go back to school and beg to get back into all my classes, which I was able to do. Finish out that year, that semester. But over the summer, going into the fall of that year, it might have been the next summer, at some point after that, they decided to start closing down some of the bases. They were cutting back on military personnel. I was obligated to a 6-year term as a medic. I was about 3 years in to that term, and was young and stupid. I was in my late 20s, mid to late 20s. Still very wet behind the ears, as they say. And so I went and got out on an OTH because I was having relationship issues, and I wanted to finish college. I didn't want to quit college this time. I'd quit a lot of jobs over the years, in and out of a lot of different kinds of jobs, got a lot of different kinds of experience in different fields. But I was a quitter. I didn't want to quit college. So I quit the Navy. I got out on an OTH, which is not dishonorable, it's just other than honorable. Ooh, my little hummingbird's paying us a visit. This is the little red-throated one. He's pretty. It just means they cut you loose. So I had no obligation to them. They had no obligation to me. And I was like, okay. So I did finish college. Like I said, I got my bachelor's degree in emergency medicine. I got my associate's degree in criminal justice, and I wound up in Greensboro. Bought this house. After searching for a couple of months, we found this house in a really nice neighborhood out in the country, not far from where my partner was working. And I was able to get on, actually, with Rockingham County. I got on part-time with their EMS service. And that lasted less than a year because hours were great. I was on call, and hours were great initially for the first 8-9 months, but then once school started back the following year and all the full-time medics got back from taking vacations and everything, my hours dwindled to just about nothing. So I stayed on while I was looking for more permanent full-time work, or at least some kind of full-time work, which I got working for a veterinary clinic. I did work some part-time jobs through a temp service. Then I wound up getting on doing a temp job. It was like a 14-week job with working at Lowe's through the temp service, doing a remodel at this particular store. And well, that led to getting on full-time. So I got on full-time with them. That lasted about 5 years. And I went from there to Habitat for Humanity at the Restore. And spent 15 years, roughly 15 years of my life with them before my body started giving out. My back just kind of gave out on me, so I limited to what I really can do these days. I'm on disability. And but I've spent 25 wonderful years here living in Rockingham County. But I have access to Greensboro, anywhere I want to go in Greensboro, anywhere I want to go in Rockingham County, Winston-Salem. So this is kind of a good area because I can get just about anywhere in anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, depending on which direction I want to go. So 25 years here. I've done a lot of remodeling in my house as I've been able. And so it's been good. But I do have those moments, like today when I was riding circles on my lawnmower listening to the radio, where you hear those songs and it just takes you back. It takes you down memory lane. And you remember friends that we've all kind of moved on. Some of them have passed away. Some of the artists that we listen to have passed away, sadly. I really enjoyed the older stuff that Prince did. Meatloaf, he's passed away. Some groups have switched lead singers because they either gone their separate ways, or I know in the case with Journey, their lead singer developed some medical issues and was no longer able to sing like he did, so they had to replace him. And then a lot of the Beatles, some of the Beatles have passed away. John Lennon, just listening to Let It Be. He was a beautiful person, trying to pass a really beautiful message. And sadly, his life was cut short. As so many of our people that we looked up to may have been either they were murdered or they died from diseases. Sorry, I got a fly bother me. And or people that we knew died in plane crashes. Some of them have just gotten so old they just can't perform anymore. Of course, people like Willie Nelson, I don't think he'll ever die. I think he's preserved his body pretty well. But where do the songs take you? Where do you go when you hear certain songs? And it's not just mainstream music. I love to listen to Elvis sing gospel. And I'm taken back to my childhood days in the church. Some songs I still can't sing without crying because of those days, just the feelings you felt, the love that you felt, the love that I have for my mom. She's one of the most religious people I know, one of the most faithful people I know, one of the most loving people I know. And then just songs that I hear take me back to those moments where I needed to fall on my knees and pray, or when I was just filled with the Spirit and just so happy that you couldn't contain it. And I wonder where that's gone. So, thank you for letting me share a few moments. Maybe it'll help bring some memories back to you, hopefully happy memories. You know, or it could be those moments, where were you when Elvis died? My mom's father passed away that same year. And I was like 13, 14 years old. 13 years old when that happened. That was a different time from when I was 19 and my other grandfather passed away. But they're good memories. When I got my first car, when I graduated college, I actually finished something. I lasted more than a couple of years at a job. And through it all, I fulfilled, and I continue to try to fulfill, the one thing I think God put me on this earth for, was to help other people, to help animals, and to help other people. And I really feel that that's why He stepped me through everything that I'd gone through, and I wound up with Habitat. And when He said my time was up with that, I'm on disability. I don't regret any of it. But I was able to work for an organization that's their job. They help people. And that's always been my goal in life, is to help people. So I hope y'all have a lot of wonderful memories. And I've been on here for quite a while now, so I'm going to sign off and just let you know that I love you, God loves you, and I'll see you soon. Ashley out.